Hello, everyone. Welcome to this last meeting in 2023 of the DC Lodge. I'm so glad you can join us today. And as always, before I introduce our speaker today, I invite you to read out the invocation of an iridescent cloud to increase the vibration. O hidden life, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light, shining in every creature. O hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May all who feel themselves as one with thee know they are therefore one with every other. Today, we have a special guest. We have Erika Chavez, and she is from Argentina. And I am so happy she could join us. She's an Argentinian educator and member of the Theosophical Society, Buenos Aires, since 2016. She served as coordinator of the virtual initial course of Theosophy in Argentina. Also, she has participated in some lectures in Buenos Aires, on some occasions for the summer school that takes place in San Rafael every January, as well as for some meetings in the Argentinian youth group as part of it. So I am so pleased to have her here. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Erika. Feel free to share your screen.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, and I feel flattered to be here and sharing this talk with you. So I share my screen. I start with small, right? If
Yes.
impersonal love is a virtue, how can we develop it? I have chosen ahimsa as a topic because, in my opinion, even after two huge world wars last century and all the suffering, we still are a violent society. At least in Buenos Aires, relationships, family, and most of the institutes must handle violent ills. So violence has been something constant in my life. Under those circumstances, I have decided to deal with that because I think that is one of the causes of suffering. The title for today is Nonviolence, Possible or Probable. And I think also we can think about the path of compassion and effective relationships. Firstly, and again, this talk will be about the ahimsa. Nevertheless, we can see in the title, Nonviolence, Probable or Possible, two different words, possible and probable. I want to set up the difference between them because that will be the main thought along this reflection. When something is possible, the perspective of that something, a frame, is between yes or no. But when something is probable, we are saying that something is possible or will be possible, though in several degrees. In essence, when we say probability, in fact, there are several options to disarm automatic reactions. When I was young, I used to wonder how we could face a violent conflict. When I grew up, that question changed to, do I have action options when a violent conflict arises? What does action mean? and is non-violence not acting? In our society, at least again in Buenos Aires City, violence is an ongoing situation. For this reason, I wonder again, is it possible in such a violent society to practice ahimsa? Let's see what the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali and Krishnamurti say about it. To begin, is it convenient to understand what is yoga, what yoga is? As we already know, ahimsa is one of 5 self-restraints in the system of Krita Yoga or preliminary steps. But what is yoga? Patanjali said yoga is the inhibition of the modification of the mind. Therefore, we have in this quote the concept of inhibition and movement of our mind. Thus, yoga is a daily practice of concentration, attention, and also self-observation and action. But what kind of action? The whole book is an example of steps to this action. Anyhow, there are 2 paths of yoga, higher yoga and lower yoga. Accordingly, 2 general types of action. The lower yoga involves the development of physic faculty, usually known as left path or dark magic. It doesn't need development of a moral sense. And that is the main difference, because higher yoga or the right path leads always to oneness or unity of life. As I was saying, this yoga is the path to liberation or enlightenment. Hence, it implies development of a transcendental morality. How is it possible? As I said at the beginning, in section 2, Sadhanapada, the book Science of Yoga, is the explanation of Krita Yoga or preliminary steps. And inside of that system, higher yoga, Krita Yoga, there are specific steps. Let's see one of them, ahimsa, in the frame of higher yoga. Vows of self-restraint comprise abstention from violence, falsehood, death, incontinence, and acquisitiveness. Those self-restraints are a morality basis with 2 types of specific work known as yama and niyama, self-restraint and observances. The former are prohibitive types practices, and the latter are organizational types. For this reason, to practice yama, we need others, we need other people. To practice niyama, we can be alone, but we have to observe the organization of our life as candidates. These are indications to think about and practice the probability to solve conflict without violence. Both are practices to remove mental and emotional perturbations. All in all, we come back to yoga definition. Yoga is the inhibition of the modification of the mind. However, I mentioned before the word action. Why? Because, and this is the most beautiful secret of self-restraint, behind all self-restraint, there is a virtue we have to develop, and that is the true and deeper action when we practice the yama. If we practice ahimsa, then we are able to develop loving kindness to all creatures. Let's keep going. In Tiny's book, The Science of Yoga, we will find the ahimsa concept in particular. On being firmly established in non-violence, there is an abandonment of hostility and presence. Thus, ahimsa does not mean merely abstaining from murder, but not willfully inflicting any injury, suffering, or pain on any living creature by word, thought, or action. Ahimsa, thus, stands for the highest degree of harmlessness. We see in this quote one of the 5 virtues in the system of yoga. As I said before, the self-restraint actually involves a development of a virtue. Thus, we could understand that the expression self-restraint isn't a non-action. Usually, it is commonly understood as an abstention. However, the practice of this dhamma requires a constant discipline. But let's continue. Ahimsa really denotes an attitude and mode of behavior towards all living creatures based on the recognition of the underlying unity of life. As yogic philosophy is based on the doctrine of the one life, it is easy to see why our outer behavior should be made to conform to this all-embracing law of life. If we understand these principles thoroughly, the application of the ideal in our life will become much easier. I think that recognition of the underlying unity of life arises from 2 qualities. On the one hand, from a higher degree of viveka, discernment. It is interesting description of viveka because viveka has 3 levels according to the book The Science of Yoga. Viveka, sense of something, it is only a reflection of the spiritual consciousness into the lower mind. Viveka Kyati, discernment in the usual sense, knowledge of the discrimination between the real and unreal things. It is an actual awareness of reality, a direct, immediate contact with the innermost spiritual consciousness. And the third one, Kaivalya, fully recognition of the unity of life or liberation. Also, the book describes a link between this capacity and our principle, buddhi. But the real weapon to be used in acquiring the vairagya is the more penetrating light of buddhi, which expresses itself as viveka. On the other hand, and consequently, we can understand as well as put into practice that recognition of the underlying unity of life following the words of all the qualifications, love is the most important. For if it is strong enough in a man, it forces him to acquire all the rest, and all the rest without it would never be sufficient. Why do I say this? In the Secret Doctrine, Blavatsky explains human beings have 2 consciousness. One, intellectual consciousness, corresponding to mana, and the other one, the spiritual consciousness, which is the basis of universal love and corresponding to our heart chakra or buddhi. Hence, the state of real love is viveka. So in here we can see this idea of recognition of the underlying unity of life and these 2 conditions that I mentioned before, the degree of viveka and love as a spiritual consciousness. Krishnamurti in the same section said, in daily life, this means 2 things. First, that you shall be careful to do not hurt to any living thing. Second, that you shall always be watching for an opportunity to help. First, to do not hurt. 3 things there are which work more harm than all else in the world: gossip, cruelty, and superstition, because they are sins against love. Against these 3, the man who will fill his heart with the love of God must watch ceaselessly. For instance, first, to do not hurt. Three things there are which work more harm than all else in the world: gossip, cruelty, and superstition, because they are things against love. Against these three, the man who will fill his heart with love of God must watch ceaselessly. See what gossip does. It begins with evil thought, and that in itself is a crime. For in everyone and in everything there is God, in everyone and in everything there is evil. Either of this we can strengthen by thinking of it, and in this way we can help or hinder evolution. We can do the will of the Logos, or we can resist him. If you think of the evil in another, you are doing at the same time three weak things. One, you are filling your neighborhood with evil thoughts instead of with good thoughts. And so you are adding to the sorrow of the world. Two, if there is in that man the evil which you think, you are strengthening it and feeding it. And so you are making your brother worse instead of better. But generally, the evil is not there, and you have only fancied it. And then your wicked thought tempts your brother to do wrong. For if he is not yet perfect, you may make him that which you have taught him. And three, you fill your own mind with evil thoughts instead of good, and so you hinder your own growth and make yourself, for those who can see, an ugly and painful object instead of a beautiful and lovable one. So, until here, we have some things to observe. Self-restraint, ahimsa, as a right action as well as development of virtue. Viveka as development of our heart chakra through developing loving kindness. Viveka as unity of higher manas and buddhi through observation and discipline. Recognition of our state of Viveka. Observation and abstention of gossip, cruelty, superstition, harmful words, harmful thought, harmful action as practice of mindfulness plus development of loving kindness. Observation and abstention of all our harmful social mandates. Krishnamurti said already, so you must be on your guard against unintentional cruelty. It comes usually from thoughtlessness. In the same way, each situation in life is unique and requires a fresh and vital approach. What is right under a particular set of circumstances cannot be determined in a mechanical fashion way by weighing all the facts and striking a balance. The correct insight into right action under every set of circumstances is the result of a developed and purified buddhi or discriminative faculty, and this function of buddhi unhindered by the complexes in our mind is possible only after prolonged training in doing the right thing at all costs. To repeat, we must remember behavior towards all living creatures based on the recognition of the underlying unity of life. Additionally, and gradually, this seemingly negative idea of harmlessness will transform itself into the positive and dynamic life of love, both in its aspect of tender compassion toward all living creatures and its practical form, service. Then again, do I have action options when a violent conflict arises? What does action mean? And is nonviolence not acting? For instance, gender and inclusive language are a really commotion topic nowadays in Argentina. Social movements might be a work field to practical theosophy. If we analyze the essence of inclusive thinking, we will see in the background the unity of life blooming like beautiful different shapes of life, and all the lives is consciousness. I think the challenge is how to support those movements without violence. In my opinion, we can do it with the following ideas and also a deep and discerning study of social movements. So again, our list or things to observe, maybe with few more. This deep and discerning study of social movements supports all inclusive movements. And for example, in my field, in education, apply in education inclusive perspectives as gender, different languages, sign language, braille, knowledge of special education, and so on. I think we can do a longer list of things and more specific. And our list can be longer, as I said, and more specific, as I said, but always remembering this philosophy, because I think that it should be the mainstay of all our actions. I want to summarize with this recognition of underlying unity of life with our two axes. Now, to develop these non-violent actions, I think we have two axes, viveka and love. Viveka as a practice of reflective meditation as a permanent state and put into practice every day. Viveka as an unbreakable active state of our mind to study and learn and put it to practice every day. Love, giving hugs, attentions, know how to look. You know, as I said before in this talk, we have different levels related with our principles, physical, emotional, psychological. So I think, for example, if you give a hug, maybe we can think that it's only a physical expression, but the impact in the psychological aspect or emotional state, it is there. Something happened when someone give you a hug. The same with the attention. Attention's not only a gift, maybe it's maybe a gift, but this is an example. Know how to look. When I'm talking with someone, how can I know that that someone is paying attention? Or how that person know that I'm paying attention? That person need some signs, some actions to know that I'm paying attention, and know how to look is one of those actions. Love, again, love as this practice to be honest and kind in our mind and heart to others. Again, the three levels, emotional level, psychological level of the mind, and physical level. I think we can start, for example, with the gossip aspect, that gossip. We can try to stop the gossip. And maybe in a conversation, I'm being part of that conversation. And I say, okay, I will not say this, but still it's in my mind. So the next level is to work with that gossip in my mind. And the last one, sorry, I cannot see it. The unbreakable, sorry, I cannot see it.
It's the unbreakable effort to understand the true nature of real love.
Thank you. Yes, and I think this last one involves the others. I think in the same example of listen to someone, when you listen deeply, you can experience that real love. And I put unbreakable because it's really difficult to listen to someone when maybe you are concerned about something in your life. But in that moment, the most important thing and person in this moment is when you are talking with someone, when that someone is talking to you. And I think it's a small practice, but the impact is really big. So now, to close this reflection, there is always a virtue behind the restraint. Think of the virtue, and you will never have the restraint of anything. And this is for you. How would you make your list of nonviolent actions to undertake in a self-conscious manner the path of compassion? Because I think everyone has a list, small or longer list. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. I really loved your talk. And what I liked is this practical approach, Erika. This is exactly what I feel is important for us in the Theosophical Society. And I loved how you use different resources from Taini and from Krishnamurti and from the Secret Doctrine. So based on, and of course, Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. So thank you so much. And with that, I'm going to open this for discussion. And there are two ways. You can either raise your hand or you can unmute yourself. But probably because it's a big group, it's easier for me if you just and for Desiree, who is the co-host, and Erika to go that way. So JD, go ahead.
Erika, thank you so much for the presentation. First impression I got from it is you've got a heart as big as all outdoors. There's no question that came across very evident to me, that your tender caring was for all mankind. And I know that's got to be a struggle for you with all the stuff that's going on in Argentina today. So if you can bring in any of that perspective as far as the devaluation, the impact that's going to have on the injury to others, the sorrow, the closing of ministry, the job losses. Those are current events that worry me as how Argentina is going to get through it in a non-violent state. And so sharing there would be wonderful if you can. But the other part I picked up on was this fact about the sin of superstition in your presentation. Yeah, all religions call all other religions either a heresy or a superstition, two sides of the same coin. So as long as we don't recognize, as we do in theosophy, the unity of all religions, we're still going to have those sins in our society of superstition or heresy. just sharing. Thank you.
Erika, go ahead and answer, especially JD is following the situation in Argentina. Are you concerned about that? You want to share anything about this? In the context of, you know, in theosophy, we try not to talk too much about politics. It is about personal behavior. And I thought what I really liked about this, what you said about social media, I have noticed that with some theosophists who really share their opinions through social media because it's important to them. So do you have, would you like to share anything in regard to JD's question?
It's true that in this moment, in Argentina, things are a bit complicated. Let's see. For me, things were it's a bit sad because it's too violent, the situation. But on the other hand, I think if these are the rules of it's like a game, no, I think like it's like a game. So these are the rules, and I need to think how to play this game with these rules in an assertive way. I think the assertiveness is one of the methods to live to deal with these situations. So I think we can have the differences, but if we know which words to choose to say something, we can express ourselves without hurting each other. I think, or at least that is the thing that I learned with Vicente coaching. I think we can express ourselves without the harmless part.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Chloe, go ahead.
Thank you, Erika. That was a very impactful speech and a very presentation. And I just would like to ask you, because you had mentioned in your presentation to not to strengthen the evil of the person or the bringing evil or negativity into your neighborhood by talking about it or conversing about it in a sense. And I completely agree in that sense, but by using nonviolent, like civil disobedient tactics. For example, I know in Argentina, when there was under the dictatorship in the 80s, there was a group of mothers that got together, and because of the law of the their lost children that were taken away, there was a lot of missing people. And so, but the government eventually went in and infiltrated with a spy, unfortunately. But it's like, but the civil disobedience of those type of movements can be so powerful in a sense because you don't want to become the monster. You don't fighting. It's so easy to go with violence against violence, and that's what a lot of people do because they're angry, and they have every right to be angry. But I don't know how to kind of get it across to certain people because it, like you said, it takes a lot of different approaches and a lot of like the list you gave of inclusion, of meditation, of reflection. And some people don't, you could tell them that and you could try to outreach to them, but some people are hell bent on just destroying. And I think, it's like, and that's for me, like there's always those people that will throw those monkey wrenches to like a peaceful movement and mess it up. And, you have to be the bigger person, not only for them, but also for yourself, which is a double burden. So I was just wondering, how would you, or what would you give advice on how to, not remedy, but how would you try to repair something like that happening with a peaceful movement that has been fractured by some type of violent action, like some internal type of, some type of radicalism that comes out, and it's not really part of the philosophy of the group.
Thank you, Troy. I think maybe I'm wrong, but I think the secret is like in the state of consciousness of each individual. That brings a different collective, like a collective thought. So, for example, in this nowadays in Argentina, with this new political situation, my first questions, because I'm an educator, my first questions was what happened with the education the last 10 years? Because when you have to make a decision, there are certain kind of things that you have to do before make that decision, before take that decision, before, no? So I think what happened with the education, that we do something, no? Make decisions unconsciously. I think if we can try to practice to be aware of the process of decision making, maybe we can do some changes, but that takes some time, because in the first place, I think the adult have to has to learn how to develop the awareness of that process, the process of decision making. So, for example, I like to work in teacher training for this reason. Because if you work in teacher training, maybe you can work with this idea, with the awareness of decision making. And then that teacher will teach to others. I think that will take time, but maybe it might help.
Okay, thank you. Excellent response. I really like your idea about teaching other teachers, and that's where we have to try to figure out where can we have this positive influence so that it goes into other directions. Before I call on Desiree, I just wanted to share two chat entries from Arnie in Mumbai. Thank you, Erika, for that very simple model of practicing ahimsa in our daily living. Very honest and compassionate talk. I completely agree. And Gwyn said, I totally agree. Take personal time on auditing or decision-making process. That seems to be the bottom line of what we are not seeing. Wonderful suggestion. Desiree, go ahead.
Gwen also made a comment. Did you see that?
Yeah, I just read that. About
went right over my head. I was like, my phone was ringing. I had to silence it. Thank you, Erika. Yeah, it thought-provoking, and so of course I have to share the thoughts that came in my head along the way. On the the awareness and our thoughts, it reminded me very much of some of the teachings of, say, Neville Goddard or Scoble Shin, or that what you're paying attention to is what's going to show itself to you more than so if you're expecting and paying attention to the negativity, you're going to experience that more in your life. I think, as you just mentioned about almost like a group thought, the more people that are having compassionate thoughts, that there is that egregore, that energy that can influence our neighborhood, as you mentioned, hopefully energetically going out there. And as Chloe mentioned, there's always somebody who's going to, you know, as you know, we're a group that talks about this sort of stuff and makes an effort to try to think positively, yet there are others who are, you know, it's like it's you or me, and sorry, you lose. You know, they don't have the compassion and they care little to find that way in their life. And so, yeah, there's that, well, I'm not going to expect this. I personally have reframed a lot of my thinking, because sometimes, you know, compassion and kindness doesn't mean agreeing. For example, you talked about, you know, acceptance, right? Compassion and kindness doesn't mean agreeing. So you can still be compassionate and kind even if you disagree with someone else's point of view, ideology, or whatever that is. I live in Washington, D.C., and we're having quite the crime trend here. So I think my biggest thing I wanted to share was the way that you know, you talked about assertiveness, that you can be compassionately assertive too. Okay. And a lot of people equate leniency with the you know, I would say like punishment or consequences for wrongdoing as kindness. And really, here's like just me talking my opinion here. I think there's a better way of viewing it, in that providing consequences for wrong behavior is providing an opportunity for that person to step into a different way of being and thinking, rather than to continue to do harm onto others. And so I think this is a kind of what I see a problem with. People are like, oh, well, you know, they need more love. Yeah, and love can be in the form of consequences to help them learn and take that next step up, just like we all, you know, talk about our soul growth. That, you know, I don't think we do people any favor to allow them to continue to harm others. So that was my little opinion and twist on how I use what you were talking about. I can love someone enough to say that's not okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Desiree. Yes, completely. In fact, you know that, for example, one of the conditions for a wholesome relationship or an effective relationship is when you can establish a clear limit between the other person and you. No? Because maybe it's different thing that you are saying and the thing that I'm feeling about the thing that you are saying. So if we can recognize that difference, that difference is like a it's like a limit, no, you and me. And if we can talk clearly, I don't like this because I feel in some way. So you can be firm and loving person, I think. So I agree with this thing that you're saying. Wait, because there are in the chat box things are
Yeah,
happening.
I was just, yeah. So Gwen continued her chat and she also said, I also think that Patanjali and Krishnamurti are the backgrounds we need to look at, the questions we need to ask ourselves. It seems that the sutras give us these meditative questions to consider. Ancient wisdom holds so much for us to consider, standing on the shoulders of our ancient ancestry. I don't know if you want to answer, respond to that before I go to Layla's message.
I think the system also lends itself to moving towards discourse and away from debate. The difference being that when people debate, they come to the exchange wanting to change another mind, whereas a discussion requires coming to the exchange with an open mind and willingness to have your perception. Okay, first thing that I love this. is this idea to change another mind. And it's related, I think, with the thread. I think the thread said something. Yes, for example, some days ago, I had a exchange of opinion with someone, and my mother is trying to understand what is assertiveness. And she said, but at the end, you don't achieve your no wait. Because with the assertiveness, you don't try to achieve something. The thing that you are thinking and you want is that you want your talk or your communication in certain specific conditions. That is the difference. But you don't try to change the other person. So I like this thing, this idea.
Yeah, you like Layla's comment.
And yes, because I share that. Yeah. Where is
Okay, if you want, I can read
open
my.
mind? Yes.
Yeah. So Michael said, at this point in my current life, I have personally embraced that study and discussion such as what we are doing with this gathering is service, which I accept as being relevant to reaching both self-enlightenment, awareness, and connecting with others, love. I start discussions with anyone whose path I cross.
Just a minute. I'm
I know.
okay. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, nothing. And then Gwen said, amen to Layla's comment, debate is an old paradigm that needs to be trashed. So good point. Rosie, go ahead.
Erika, thank you so much. Several of your points really resonate with me. And it's clear, like you have a lot of wisdom and a good ability to express these really important ideas. I know in Argentina, the Theosophical Society is pretty strong. But I wonder, when you are working or you're among non-theosophists, do you feel like other Argentinians sort of resonate with these ideas when you try to express them? Do you feel like people are sort of desperate for this way of thinking, or do you feel as though it's still a bit of a struggle to kind of communicate this to people who are not in the society?
Okay. Thank you, Rosie, and thank you for the express myself, because I'm speaking in English. And thank you if you can understand my ideas. Let's see. Yes, people among non-theosophists, they like the ideas of non-violence, and for example, Gandhi's example or life. But when they have to apply these ideas, that is something really difficult to, okay, how? Because, and I think this is the idea of Krishnamurti, this new mind is the mind without conditioning. And when you like some ideas, but when your understanding of those ideas is only in an intellectual level, when you try to apply the ideas, at the end you do the same of every day. I don't know if I'm clear with this.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because the intellectual level is not enough to make a real change. So you need to change. In fact, you need to change, or you need to work on with your conditionings, with the conditionings in your mind, and that usually is an subconscious level. And it doesn't matter if you have a PhD on Krishnamurti, but if you cannot integrate or have a holistic understanding of those ideas, it's really difficult to change it. So I have coworkers that they like my ideas. For example, when I talk about this, yeah, I'm in the Theosophical Society and we talk about this and this. Oh, I like it, but I try with my group with in the high school, and I couldn't. I don't know what happened. So when I ask, they say, "Oh no, I don't know, but I feel like irritated." And okay, that is the situation. So first, you have to work in you to work with others, because I think the role of a teacher, for example, you need to be you, the atmosphere, and it's really difficult to do that. It's really difficult because you have to make the conditions and the atmosphere, and that is an energetic level, and that level is really difficult to work.
Wonderful response. Excellent question, Rosie. Layla says 100% remaining in the intellect alone is imbalanced. That is correct. And I think what you point out is this difficulty of, controlling our emotions. As you said, your colleague, they get irritated. But I like the way you approach that or suggest it with the gossip. Like the first step is not to gossip, but then look at your mind. And if you're still, have this desire to gossip, we have to replace that. And it's this awareness, replacing your negative or hurtful thoughts immediately with positive and other thoughts. And that will create that energy that you're talking about, this positive, loving, caring energy. Because the high school students pick up on that energy. They know their teachers. They know where they're coming from. I remember when I used to teach at the George Washington University, we got reviewed all the time. All the students constantly had to make comments. But what I realized, you can integrate technology, this and that, but it comes down to that they know you care about them. And if they know you care, then everything works. Anyhow, Joan said, beautiful talk. Much is to be learned by taking time to stop and think before talking to give the best addition to the conversation. Allow each person in the conversation to give their highest insight as to bring out of the best ideas in each other. Thank you, Joan. And then Gwyn said, you are right on. Applying the ideas need to address our inner awareness. Know thyself each moment when starting to your service or helping others. And then JD said, nicely said, replacing the gossip with positive bits. Layla said, I think one of the barriers in this process is that people believe their conditioned identity is who they really are, and this causes distress. And the excavation of the true self does include some pain, suffering, and best we can offer is a space for the transformation. Excellent points. Thank you so much for sharing. Deborah, you are the next. Go ahead.
Well, thank you, Erika, for just a lovely talk. Just a few comments I'd like to make. It feels to me that when I talk about these things and when I listen to many lessons that I'm in, that people are longing to hear these kinds of things, to hear that they're accessible, that they're not something that takes you to this place of enlightenment, which is wonderful, but this is a path. This is a new way of looking at life. In the last 100 years, 6 billion people have been added to the planet. And with social media crowding us the last couple of decades, so much has been centered around gossip or trying to make this big hit into the world. And so many people don't hear, we don't even teach kindness, compassion, love, and this trying to communicate, and versus a couple of other people said debate. And so just loving talk. I think Suzanne said it, that people long to hear this. They long to know that things are understandable and achievable. And so I heard something just a week ago, and it just, I think I'll carry it with me forever. When we see everything as sacred, everything becomes sacred. And so when we tell someone who is suffering or who is angry or lost or just cranky, when we accept that, when we take that, not to say how they're seeing it wrong or they're viewing it wrong, but that it's okay, and that it'll take time, but there are all these possibilities there, and then just lovingly walk them there. And your talk gives me inspiration for that. Then I think all things are possible. All things are possible when we talk with the heart. And your talk is definitely that. So thank you.
Did you
Thank
want
you,
to respond to
Deborah.
that?
Thank you, Deborah. I completely agree. Yes, thank you.
Okay, so one more chat. I think Erika's comment about the game is important to understand. We must create our inner peace regardless of the game played out there. I have nobody here open, so I want to thank you for an inspiring talk. I want to thank you that, you kept it. And this is, I think, the way we need to go. You didn't keep it too long. You really got your point across within 30 or 35 minutes. And then you allowed others to share their thoughts or ask questions. As JD and others said, you spoke from the heart. And as Rosie said, and others also, you gave concrete suggestions on how we can improve, and that it is, that we have to work on ourselves. And the more people work in a neighborhood, the more these negative voices won't be heard as much. It's always the more there are. And so if nobody else has anything, I invite you to have some concluding remarks. You are a very inspiring person, Erika. You really made theosophy practical today and touched us deeply. And for that, I want to thank you. And I'm so glad I saw your name in Synergy and invited you. If so, please open up to any concluding thoughts.
Okay, first, thank you. For me, this was an amazing experience. That for me, my English is quite new, so these meetings it's a good opportunity with with all the uncomfortable feeling. For me, it's a good opportunity, and I feel it's nice to feel with distance, but it's nice to feel this belonging, this feeling of belonging. And I love to share ideas with people in general, but with you was really you said your talk was 30 minutes, and then we shared, because I realized the last year that when I learned when sorry I'm thinking when I learn more, much more, when I can exchange ideas with others. So when I realized that listening to others about the ideas that I'm thinking or I'm processing was the best way to improve that thought or that concept or that idea. So for me, it was like a surprise, because I used to be a person who only read book. Okay, all the is in the book. But last year was like, okay, when you exchange with the people, when you share with people, something is like something magical happen. It's like you become like bigger in an inner sense. So thank you again. Was an amazing experience, and again I feel flattered. The word that I feel flattered to be with you. So
Well, I want to share two more comments. Layla said she's from the New York Lodge. So great to have shared space with you, Erika. And I agree with her. And Deborah said your English was perfect because it was spoken through the heart. And there, Gwyn said a beautiful soul. Michael said thank you. And I want to say thank you for having the courage to speak, because with that, you also lead by example. And again, thank you for everything you shared with us. And with that, I don't see anybody else. It was a fantastic experience. My heart is wide open. I have tears in my eyes. And so just a quick announcement, because of the holidays, we're not going to meet anymore this year. This was the perfect ending for 2023, Erika, especially with in view of what is going on all over the world. And the next Zoom meeting is going to be on January 13 with Sue, who is going to talk about the mystery schools and the esoteric wisdom. And the DC Lodge is going to meet face-to-face on the 6th of January. And I'm going to send out a separate announcement. And later today or tomorrow, I'm going to send you the recording. Thank you so much, everyone. Happy holidays. And as we say in Austria, a good slide into the new year. Thank you.
Happy
And
holidays.
Thank you, everyone. Happy holidays.
bye.
Happy holidays. Bye.
Erica.